Welcome to Good Books Radio. I'm your host, Dr. W.F. Strong. Today, we have something different for you. Instead of interviewing a best-selling author from New York or Los Angeles, we're going to interview Ian Small, who is the general manager of audiobooks.com. We're going to learn all about this particular business model and what unique opportunities there are at this website for those of you who are book lovers, which is most of you. Hi, Ian. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Now, where are you located?
So our head office is located actually just outside Toronto, Canada, and we operate both in Canada as well as the United States, with the United States being probably our main market.
Sure. Whoa, you're really cold up right now, I bet.
We've had a tough go of it as of late. It's been quite a cold snap coming across here.
Like what are you right now? What is your temperature outside?
Right now, I think it's about 15.
15.
So,
okay.
Yes. It's a little bit chilly right now.
Well, here in South Texas, we're at about 42 right now, and for most of us natives, that is just brutal.
Well, this is actually a peak day for us. Actually, right now we've gotten down to zeros as of late. But,
yeah,
so it's actually not bad for us right now. But
so you're in a bit of a heat wave.
Yeah.
Well, listen, great. I'm so happy that you could join us today because I'm really interested in audiobooks.com. I read somewhere that you're called the Netflix of books. Is that an apt title?
Well, so what we've had multiple program offers that we've offered to consumers to try to experiment with audiobooks, and we have a couple different ways in which we allow our customers to consume. Mm-hmm. So basically, we try to make it accessible for customers to come on, try and stream their audiobooks to their devices. So from a technology standpoint, we're happy with that comparison. We try to make our service easy and convenient for the end user, similar to Netflix, as well as offering some excellent content. So it's a flattering comparison. We'd like to one day be the size that Netflix is, something that we're working towards.
Now, are you a public company?
No, actually, we're a privately held company at the moment.
Okay, so that when you go public, I want to invest early because I missed out on Netflix. So I want to get in on that the stock price early.
Get in early, absolutely.
Well, tell me, what is the difference in like your best-selling list and that of, say, a traditional hardcover book site? Is there a difference? Do you have a different set of bestsellers?
Typically, there isn't that much of a difference. We in the audiobook community, we don't get recognized as much. A little over, it's about 10% of all print books get published into audiobooks. But when we're talking about that 10%, we're talking about content and titles that the publishing partners know are going to sell. So when you talk about the bestsellers, the New York Times bestsellers, and titles like Sycamore Row and The Goldfinch and Husband's Secret, all those titles are produced into audio. So what we find for our customer base, typically the titles that are selling for us mimic the New York Times bestsellers, the USA Today. We follow that path pretty closely. And then we have the legacy titles still actually that are doing quite well if the movies pop up. 50 Shades of Grey will never it doesn't seem to want to go away. So things like that pop up.
Well, I read somewhere that a couple of years ago that the 50 Shades of Grey was made possible as a huge publishing sensation because of digital media, that prior to that book couldn't have been such a big hit because people would not have wanted to be seen reading it. Right, correct. So it was actually an ebook trend that kind of made it all possible. Mm-hmm. And we're finding similar patterns in the audiobook community as well. So, where technology has gotten to now, it's if you would have, I've been in the business for a little over 8 years now, mm-hmm. and if you would have told me, asked me 5 years ago where I think things are going to be now, it's pretty crazy. So, what happened with 50 Shades? We kind of see little pockets popping up within the audiobook world as well. It's
production equipment, it used to be extremely expensive to produce an audiobook. Those costs have dropped drastically. Narrators can do professional work in their own, in their own studios, in their homes for, less than $1,000 essentially. So we're seeing some independent authors pop up with some good audio work.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to the extent that 50 Shades has had at the moment, but
mm-hmm.
It's getting there.
Now, is there any? Do you have any cases where there is an audio book that isn't, shall we say, in print, where someone just records a good story, but there's no book?
Yeah, it's rather rare,
mm-hmm.
but that does pop up. Typically, we consider those dramatizations,
mm-hmm.
where it's you can usually get almost a full cast acting out what could be almost a screenplay, but just the audio version.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, we're kind of moving away from what would be viewed as a traditional book. But when you're thinking of just how different audio content can be, those are that's just some of the content that we have on here.
What are your best-selling books? And audiobooks.com has been in existence for 5 years.
So we actually have two companies. We have Simply Audiobooks, which is our sister company, which deals with physical CDs, and then audiobooks.com, which is strictly digital content. We didn't want to mess the brands up there at all. So audiobooks.com has been about 3 years, and Simply Audiobooks has been about 10 years.
Okay.
And so for some of our best-selling content right now, so when we're looking at a few of the things that I mentioned, or a few of the titles I mentioned earlier on, Divergent moves well for us right now. Husband's Secret moves well for us. Lone Survivor is actually doing pretty well for us. And of course the Catching Fire, which gets a lot of headlines right now. Game of Thrones, which anything that captures the headlines, people start to kind of delve back into it.
Well, the funny story about Lone Survivor, I was supposed to interview him. Now I can't recall his name off the top of my head. I don't know why. Oh, yes, I remember. Marcus Luttrell, that's his name. He's from Texas, and he tells the story. He is the lone survivor. But I was supposed to interview him, and about 30 minutes before the interview, his editor or publicist called me and said, I hate to do this to you, but the guy's really tired. And he's just worn out. And I thought, how can he be worn out? I read the book, And after I saw the movie, I just really can't imagine him ever being worn out.
Right.
But certainly I understand if you do a book tour, I'm sure it gets exhausting answering the same questions over and over and over.
Yeah, I imagine so.
So anyway, these are some of your big bestsellers. Do you, as a company, have anything to do with the recording of the material, or is that given to you by the publisher?
It's given to us by the publishers. One of our co-founders is very passionate about audiobooks and does produce a small amount of audiobooks on his own. He's a big sci-fi fan, and so when he comes across a book that there is not an audio version, he kind of makes it his own pet project to create it and kind of get it out there. But it's not something that, as a company, that we actively pursue.
Do you know of any particular criteria that they have concerning audiobooks? I mean, are there any books that they wouldn't make an audiobook of, or is it just like, it's a bestseller, we'll do an audio version?
No, it's actually been increasing over the years now, because as the digital market grows, which now accounts for about 58% of the audiobook industry, as it's growing and it's taking over, the bigger concern previously with hard goods was shelf space and how much an actual physical CD would move, and the cost of it. With the average retail price of an audiobook on CD being about $44, and how much they would sell, retailers just didn't necessarily want to carry the product. So now that the trend is digital, everything's moving digital. There's less concern of that. There's less overhead. So publishers are actually producing more and more content. So when they looked at essentially what would sell and what wouldn't sell, that being the main criteria, that's expanded now into I guess looser constraints into it. It doesn't have to sell as much for them to produce it. So, from our standpoint as a retailer, it's excellent because we want more and more books. So it's getting a little bit more open.
If I become a member, which I already am, thank you for your generous free membership for 3 months.
My pleasure.
Yeah, but as I understand it, as a kind of premium member, you get 2 book downloads per month. Is that right?
Yes, you can get either one book per month for $14.95, or you can come in and get a 2-book plan for $22.95. The $22.95 plan, we've really found that customers weren't necessarily using both books over a month. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is we've really pushed and highlighted. Get into the $14.95 plan. You get a book per month, which typically the average audiobook is around 7 to 11 hours. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking for additional books, what you can do is we have a flat rate. It's $10 mm-hmm. For any book that you want to get after your book credit is used up. And so what we've really found from the customers is they much prefer that platform. That way, it's a smaller commitment on their behalf, and they can kind of pick and choose the books that they want to consume. And then on top of that, we do offer we have a book sales category in which we try to offer some content at the lowest markdown price that we can offer. Like for instance, right now, Contagious by Jonah Berger is $7.50 if you're a member, and you've used your credit, you can go and get a different book for a rather inexpensive price.
So a lot of your books are essentially half price. Yes.
And that's the way the subscription model works. Mm-hmm. The publishers reward the consumer with lower pricing because there's a commitment to listening to further books, to listening to more books. So it's kind of almost you're getting a bulk discount, but on a pay per listen basis.
How many members do you have, or is that secret information?
Well, if I shared that with you right now, then when we went public, then you'd have some insider trading problem.
I'll tell you, I'm just trying to get ahead of the game. I missed out on Netflix. I don't want to miss this one. But I do see the attractiveness of the model. Can you describe your typical customer?
So, our typical consumer, we skew slightly female, so about 54% female, ages 34 to 54, highly educated, loves to consume information, and typically the commuter, so someone that's got more, doesn't have enough time on their hands to listen, to read the books that they want to listen and enjoy. So we, as far as our geographic markets are concerned, California being our top state, New York being number 2, and I think Texas falls about 4 for us. So I actually haven't been to Texas as of late, so I'm not too sure what's going on with your traffic there, but it's working out in our favor.
Well, there's a lot of long commutes here. Texas.
Yes.
They say that driving across Texas isn't a trip; it's a damn career. Because it's 900 miles from where I live in Brownsville up to the top of the Panhandle, Dalhart, and it's
right.
It's about equally it's similar 900 miles from El Paso to Beaumont, crossing west to east. So there are a lot of people have long commutes. So I can understand why you would have a big market here. Now
yep.
so a lot of people, they download the material to their iPhone, for instance, right?
So yes, you can download it in advance. So basically, we have an iPhone and an Android app that you can get from both iTunes and Google Play. Mm-hmm. And so when you have the app, you can access your existing library just at the touch on the phone, or you can add to your library by using credits right there. So we do offer a streaming service, so it's an instant playback. So right away, as soon as you hit play, the book starts to play for you. If you're going to be traveling or you have concerns about bandwidth on your data plan under Wi-Fi, you can just download it and not worry about the audiobook playback using up some of your bandwidth. So we try to offer some convenience to the listener.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also know that a lot of people, I've got a teenage son who prefers to listen to books rather than read them. I guess there's a lot of people like that, right?
There are. So, and this is something that I personally have had some talks, and this is, a bit of an issue with how quickly they update those textbooks, because there's a big opportunity there. Because what we've seen from reading comprehension, not just in anyone that has a learning disability, but in an average reader, that the comprehension improves on average. I think it's 22 to 26% is improved comprehension if you're reading a book and listening to it. So there's a big benefit to having audio as well as visual, and some people just tend to prefer the audio from a listening aspect. And textbooks aren't typically produced into audio. It's because they're changing them every couple of years, and I really think that they're missing a big opportunity there. So it's something that I've voiced to them, and I think it's fallen on deaf ears. But it's something that I wish more educational material was produced.
Well, I think if it is the type of material, for instance, a history book, where the history can really be brought to life by someone who is a good storyteller, I think that would work really, really wonderfully. I can't imagine algebra, though, being done that way. I mean, you kind of have to see it, I think, to get the formula.
Absolutely, and you touched on something that a lot of the professional narrators within the audiobook community would like to voice, and that's the delivery of having a book professionally read for you, acted out for you, and the difference it can make on the content. If you listen to Harry Potter or anything else, it's just to me when I can't. When I'm going through a book and I'm reading it, a lot of times, especially if I can get the author reading it to me, I just enjoy it so much more than me sitting in my chair and going through it. So something for a little kudos to the narrators out there.
Well, there was a time in the 1800s, particularly, where there was a kind of movement where authors went on stage to read from their works. It was similar to the way bands go on tour to promote their music. Like Dickens did a tour of America reading from his works and sold a lot of books because of it. And Mark Twain saw him reading, and he thought that was, magnificent, and he wanted to do it himself. And so he went on a 4-month tour up there in the northeastern United States, doing readings from Huckleberry Finn and promoting his book and, selling the hell out of it by using it as entertainment. And he said that he didn't read it so much as he acted it out. So this was kind of an early version of audiobooks.com, except you had the author live, and here you can have them, for yourself.
Right, and for me, and I understand I'd be in the minority. For me, that would be pure entertainment. To me, that would just be ideal.
Oh no, I agree with you. I've heard many author readings. Sometimes they can be dull, but because some authors are private people and they're not very animated in public style, but some of them are just like I heard James Dickey once, and he wrote Deliverance, and he was magnificent. Of course, he was actually in the movie Deliverance, and so he had this southern drawl that was just beautiful to listen to. So I think many authors are quite charming to listen to. Not all of them do. Many of them like to do their own work, or do they have to be coaxed into it, or some just are there the opposite? Some who want to do it who aren't very good.
Right. What you tend to find is a lot of the fiction writers gravitate towards a narrator for their work, and then will stick with that narrator.
Yes.
Nonfiction, you're more likely to get the author to read his work, but you and this is just something that I kind of look for, and you can tell just they get their favorites. The authors get their favorites for the sound of the voice actor and how they deliver, and that's who they want reading their work. It's obviously not 100% of the time, but it's just when I look for those little pockets to pick up.
So they find a persona that works for them. They like the interpretation of their work by this voice and this style.
Exactly.
Okay. How much do those people get paid? Do you know?
That I actually don't know. I don't know. I know it's a rather competitive business, but I don't know offhand the going rate is. I assume it's going to vary. Some celebrities do delve into it a little bit, but I don't know the average going rate.
The thing I would like to know about about the industry as a whole, and you're much closer to that end of it than I am. I interview a lot of authors, but I really don't know much about how a book is actually promoted in the big sense. So can you tell me about that? If you have someone like a fairly well-known author like Stephen King has a new book, what is all expected of him in promoting that book?
Well, when you're speaking of someone like Stephen King, that ends up being he's one of the great individuals. He's really big for social media. He does outreach. He works with his publishers to get the message out there. Publishers will let us know what he's doing. We'll try to piggyback off anything he's doing. We make sure that whatever material has been released, that we get it front and center on our website. We'll run campaigns, online marketing for it, as well as some offline advertising for that book. If it's going to be trending in the news, we want to make sure people are aware that they can get it at audiobooks.com. Sometimes we need to let people know that there's an audio version of it because again, we're the lesser known format, I guess to say. So and a lot of times that's on us as an audiobook retailer, where the publishers will just kind of focus on, hey, the book is out there, the ebook version, or whether it be a print or hardcover, and then we'll try to get into where they're advertising, and just also to say, FYI, you can get the audio version at audiobooks.com.
I looked at your site. I looked at Stephen King's collection on your site, and I was impressed. There's like 26. It's a lot of books.
I think about that. He's a busy man.
Yeah, he is a prolific writer, and that's not even including the ones that he wrote under a pseudonym.
Right.
So that guy really pumps them out, and I bet he could write a book in a day, and it would be good.
I don't doubt it, and I think James Patterson as well for releases last year as far as co-authoring. I think every month there was something coming in that was getting released that he co-authored. He's another individual that does a lot of work.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left, so I want to make sure that everybody gets a good understanding of audiobooks.com. So take us through the process. I want to become a member. I want to register on audiobooks.com, so I just go to audiobooks.com, and then what?
So you come to audiobooks.com. We offer a free 30-day trial, so no commitment for 30 days, and you get your first book for free. So come to our registration page, sign up, download our app. You spend some time on the website, spend some time on the app, go through, pick a book, and then start listening. And after within the 30 days, if you find that you're not happy with the service, you have no obligation. You can cancel right away. If you're not happy with the content you're listening to, call our customer service. We've got an excellent customer service department, and they'll give you another book for free that you can try out. What we find is if we can get someone listening to an audiobook, then they'll become an audiobook lover. Most people just, it hasn't been discovered yet. So come try the service, 30 days for free. It's $14.95. Try it on your phone, try it at home, and try it at the office.
I'd like to stress that the process is very user friendly. I went on the site and knocked it out in like 2 minutes. Very simple, and the site itself is clean and uncluttered, exceptionally professional, efficient. So a most inviting website. So I recommend that everybody go and get a book.
That's great to hear. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. So where do you go from here? What's the next step for audiobooks.com? What's the future?
So the future, for us, the future really is, it's going to end up being technology for us. So what we found is once the iPod hit, and that was a big craze, that really expanded the audiobook market. People had a device, and they were looking for more things that they can listen to on their device. Smartphones, we saw a similar trend. Not as much of a spike, but it didn't have the impact the iPod had. So what technology is doing is making it easier for consumers to essentially have a library in their pocket. And so we're looking, we're looking at the future. It's only going to expand where audiobooks live. So right now, it's really easy for us to get on your phone. The next place is we want to hit consumers where they enjoy audiobooks the most, and that's in the car. So your smartphone makes it really easy for you to do that. In-car technology is evolving and growing, and we're trying to work alongside them and push them to make sure as they're doing that to keep audiobooks in mind, and just make it easier for everyone to get audiobooks.com essentially and be listening to audiobooks.
One of the other things I'd like to point out that you have a kind of audio bookmark where if I'm listening in my bedroom and then I go to my car, it'll pick up where I left off.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yes. What we find is, people will listen on multiple devices. If you're in the office, you're listening on your laptop, and then you want to hop in your car and pull up your phone. We want a seamless transition. We want it to be as pain-free as possible. So wherever you left off, we'll carry your book for you, and then we'll start it up again right where you're listening.
Well, Ian, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope that your heat wave up there in Canada continues, where you get all up to 25 degrees or so. That would be wonderful.
It's going to take a few months for that, but much appreciated.
And then we are a big spring break destination here, so you need to come on down for the warm weather that will hit us. We're really cold at 42. That's unusual for us. Usually we're 70 right now, so we're like a touch of the tropics here. So come down in March and have a good time.
All right, will do.
And come back and join us sometime. We want to talk more about audiobooks.com. It's part of a new revolution, and we want to stay on top of it. Thank you so much.
I'd be happy to. Thanks again for having me.
Well, that wraps it up for another program of Good Books Radio. I've been your host, Dr. W.F. Strong, and our guest today was Ian Small from audiobooks.com. Suggest again that you go to audiobooks.com and register as a member and get a great deal on books you love. Have a great day.